Joseph diGenova is a former United States attorney for the District of Columbia, one of the truly brightest legal minds on the planet. Joe, welcome back to the show, and thank you so much, man. It's so great to have you with us this morning, sir.
Great to be with you, Joe.
Well, I feel like we know you, Joe, if I may. I feel like you're a friend, and I want to thank you for being, I always say we're the oasis here on the Piscopo Show in the morning because there's such craziness out there. So we turn to you. Joe, we turn to you, and you give us the right answers, and God bless you for that, man. I'm telling you, it's really, like, what are we expecting to take place at this circus down there today?
Well, today's the first day of the formal trial of the impeachment. There are, under the draft resolution that McConnell put in yesterday, there are 68 hours of Senate time that are allotted for this. But listen how he's going to do this. 24 hours for the House of Democrats, and they do that in 12-hour segments. That he's going to run them, and they start their sessions at 1 p.m. So add 12 to that, and you end up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And the reason they start at 1 p.m. is that the Chief Justice, who presides over the impeachment trial, has other duties as the Chief Justice of the United States, which have to be performed. So the trial starts at 1 p.m. every day. So 24 hours for the accusers, 24 hours for Trump's lawyers, 16 hours for questions from the Senate, which will be presented in writing to the Chief Justice, and then he reads them, and then the answers are provided by the members of each team, and 4 hours for closing arguments. And then only do they take a vote on whether or not they want witnesses.
Now, Chief Justice Roberts, why am I leery of that, Joe diGenova? I mean, can he mess this up some way? I say respectfully to the Chief Justice, but I don't really trust this guy. This is Piscopo talk. I mean, go ahead, please. You have the sense of his vote in Obamacare, where he upheld Obamacare and changed his vote from an unconstitutional to a constitutional at the 11th hour. Yeah.
And it was always believed by court observers that somebody got to him, that he switched for some unknown reason, and it certainly wasn't because of the compelling arguments to sustain the constitutionality of Obamacare. But you don't trust him because of that. And well, you also don't trust him because he was critical of the president when he said that there are Obama judges, when the president was critical of that judge in California and said he was, quote, an Obama judge.
Yeah.
And the Chief Justice went out and defended the judge, I think, unnecessarily and inappropriately, saying there are no Obama judges, there are no Trump judges, there are no Democrat judges, there are no Republican judges.
Man.
That's just a lot of hooey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and he hasn't done that again because he realized that he interjected himself into a political debate, which is no place for a Chief Justice.
Yeah. Joe, you know what? Just as an aside, if I could digress here, and you know best, the president is appointing so many district judges, the Supreme Court, the changes in the Supreme Court now. So I say to you listening, you're listening to the great Joe diGenova with Piscopo, we should rest easy that this president is, and I don't want to say sneaking in because I don't want to say it too loud, Joe, because the other side of but we're doing pretty good in that regard, and appointing the right judges and not these far left progressive socialists, correct?
Well, the president has appointed 184 federal judges and 2 judges to the Supreme Court. And here's the issue. This is why the impeachment trial is so important. The goal of the Democrats and why they impeached the president was not because they thought they would remove him from office. They know they can't do that. They don't have the 67 votes required in the Senate to do that.
Right.
They wanted 2 reasons: to dirty him up for the 2020 election, and number 2, to create enough of a problem for Republicans in the Senate that the Democrats would take the Senate back and then stop all the judicial appointments. There would never be another judge confirmed. If the president stayed in office after 2020, which I expect, but then the Democrats would control both houses of Congress and they would be able to stop the judicial appointments in the Senate. That's what this is about. That's their ultimate goal.
Mic drop. Joe diGenova speaking the truth right here with Piscopo on the radio. And Joe, do we have to listen to Schiff for 4 hours straight, man? I mean, oh my God! I said it's worse than waterboarding. I mean, really, Joe, come on.
He's gonna let other people speak, but he will. make, I believe, the opening statement, and Alan Dershowitz will make the opening statement for the President of the United States.
Great. Well, Alan is, Alan's great. Alan's is a regular guest. Avi is a regular guest on the show, and he knows constitutional law so well as you do, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
But Jerry Nadler, too? We're going to have to hear Nadler and Schiff? I mean, really?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't. But there you are. You get to watch the Penguin. The Penguin gets to speak. Gary Nadler.
You are so bad. Oh, now you gave us an idea. We could doctor that. That little from Batman. Yeah, we can make that work. We'll get that.
He can waddle right up to the lectern.
Oh, geez. Joe says all the things that I'm thinking, but don't have.
I can just see. I can just see Danny DeVito in the well of the Senate.
They should do that. That's the sketch this weekend on Saturday Night Live. Oh, I wish Saturday Night Live would go there because, boy, is that it's gold. They're giving us comedy gold, man.
Oh God, this is just like the confirmation hearing of Clarence Thomas that they did on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it's so true. What about witnesses, Joe diGenova? What do we have to look for in witnesses, and who we're going to see? And Joe, there's part of me too, if I may, that if they're we're gonna put up, Mike, John Bolton. If you're gonna put up John Bolton, then bring on Hunter, and then let me go here, Joe, if I can. Then why don't they bring up Hillary Clinton, Clapper, Comey? I mean, do you think that could just blow up like that, do you think?
Well, I don't think we'll get to Comey and Clapper, but I do think here's what's going on. The Republicans aren't going to name Hunter Biden as one of the witnesses they want, and others, perhaps even Joe Biden, because they want to create what we used to call in nuclear war strategy mutually assured destruction. If the Democrats call for Bolton and others, the Republicans will call for the Bidens and others. And then at that point, the Democrats have to think for themselves, do we really want to open up this can of worms?
That's right.
And that will be the moment when we know how crazy the Democrats really are. If they're willing to sacrifice the Biden family, which in one way I hope they are, because the Bidens are totally corrupt. And according to Peter Schweitzer's new book is just incredible. I can't wait for everybody to get a chance to read it. But here's the thing. The witnesses are possible, and there are enough Republicans who are not strongly against that idea, people like Romney and Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, that the Democrats might be able to muster the 51 votes to get witnesses. But we don't know that yet.
It's going to be so interesting. I must say that my curiosity is just so charged up on what exactly is going to happen here. Hey, but just legally, Joe, if we can, before we let you go, sir, can you give us the highlights of the brief that the president's legal team filed yesterday? 171 pages, I believe it was, huh?
Well, it's brilliantly written, and the scheme of it is that the proceedings in the House were unconstitutional, that they did not charge a high crime of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors, that they are fatally defective because of that, that even if anything were to get to the facts, the president did absolutely nothing wrong. But their strongest argument is that the infirmities in the House proceeding and in the charging documents are so bad in the two articles. The first article is abuse of power, which is a meaningless charge.
Right.
How do you defend yourself? What does that mean?
Right.
And then second one is obstruction of Congress, a non-existent offense. And in neither article of impeachment do they charge a crime under U.S. criminal law. That is exactly the opposite of what has been the case in the past. So when all is said and done, their biggest argument is that these articles must fall by their own weight because they are constitutionally infirm, they do not charge an impeachable offense, and the process by which they are adopted denied the president due process because he could present no witnesses, and he was not allowed to have lawyers present for the questioning of the witnesses.
Yeah. And that's so searing. Joe diGenova, they took care of it in the House. They had their time in the House. Now they're trying to bully the Senate. Why is there no one in charge that just says, "Stop! You can't do that"? I mean, they keep leaking in. They keep going on. Nancy Pelosi keeps, jammering about this, that, and the other thing. They had their chance in the House. They blew it. And how
they did, and they blew it purposely. They decided they didn't want to litigate whether or not because if they subpoenaed Bolton, which they never did, they would have had to argue executive privilege through the courts all the way to the Supreme Court, and they simply decided, you know what, we're just going to impeach him because we know we're never going to remove him. We want to dirty him up for the 2020 election, and we want to try and take the Senate and stop him. And that's what this is all about. And so the fact that they didn't go after the witnesses meant only one thing. They just wanted to get the proceedings going in the Senate so they could muck up the 2020 election.
And Joe, thank you for your time, but the president comes out of this unscathed, correct?
Absolutely. He will not be removed from office.
All right. Joe, we just so value you coming on the show, and hopefully we'll get to see you when you come up to New York or if we come down there. Thank you, Joe. God bless you, man.
Okay,
Godspeed.
Joe, take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bet.
Joe diGenova right there, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Brilliant, brilliant man. And he's Italian. Did I say that? Oh,